Your body feels pain, but your brain decides how much. Discover the surprising truth about what really shapes your sensations and why the same touch can feel blissful or unbearable.
Please hit that subscribe button now and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Don't forget to check the description below for links to our trusted sponsors and ways you can support the show.
You know what's fascinating? Our skin contains millions of pain and pleasure sensors, but the exact same physical sensation can feel completely different based on what our brain expects to experience.
That's such an intriguing point about how our mind shapes our physical experiences, like that construction worker who felt excruciating pain from a nail that hadn't even touched his foot.
Exactly right. And what's even more interesting is that these pain and pleasure pathways aren't just random. They're organized in this incredibly precise map in our brain called the homunculus.
So tell me more about how this brain map actually works. I mean, does every part of our body get equal representation?
Well, that's the fascinating part. It's not equal at all. Our brain dedicates way more processing power to areas like our lips, fingertips, and genitals compared to, say, our back or legs.
That makes so much sense when you think about how we experience touch differently across our body, like how you can feel two separate points on your palm but not on your back.
Right? And you can actually test this yourself. If someone takes two pencil points about a centimeter apart and touches them to your hand, you'll feel two distinct points. But on your back, those same 2 points will feel like one.
You know what really gets me thinking? How much our expectations can change our experience of pain and pleasure, like how knowing pain is coming can actually help us handle it better.
That's right, but here's the really counterintuitive part. The timing has to be just right. If you warn someone about pain too soon or too late, it actually makes the experience worse.
So, what's the sweet spot for warning someone about incoming pain?
The research shows it's between 20 and 40 seconds. That gives your brain enough time to prepare without building up too much anxiety. It's like a mental preparation window.
That's such valuable information for healthcare providers, and really anyone who has to deal with potentially painful situations.
And speaking of practical applications, let's talk about something most people get completely wrong: how to handle cold water exposure. Most people ease in slowly, but that's actually the worst approach.
Well, that's completely different from what I would have guessed. Why is slowly getting in worse?
Because our cold sensors respond to relative temperature changes, not absolute temperature. So when you go in slowly, you're basically triggering those pain sensors over and over again with each inch of exposure.
That explains why jumping in all at once, while initially shocking, often feels better in the long run. Though, of course, we should mention this only applies to safe situations.
Exactly right. And this ties into something else fascinating about pain and pleasure: how they vary throughout the day. Our pain tolerance actually follows a predictable 24-hour cycle.
Let me guess, we handle pain better during daylight hours?
That's right. And specifically, we're most vulnerable to pain between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. It's like our body's natural pain management system takes a night shift break.
That's really interesting when you think about how hospitals handle pain management through the night versus during the day.
And it gets even more complex when we look at genetic factors. Take redheads, for example. They actually have a higher pain threshold due to their MC1R gene affecting how their bodies process endorphins.
Though we should probably emphasize that this doesn't mean redheads should be subjected to more pain. It's just an interesting biological variation.
Absolutely right. And speaking of biological variations, let's talk about how pleasure and pain are actually interconnected through our dopamine and serotonin systems.
You know, most people think of those as just feel-good chemicals, but it's way more complex than that.
Right? Dopamine is actually more about anticipation and motivation, while serotonin relates more to the immediate experience of pleasure. And here's the really interesting part. Every time we experience intense pleasure, there's a corresponding activation of pain circuits.
That's like nature's built-in moderator, keeping us from getting stuck in endless, pleasure-seeking loops.
Exactly, and this balance is crucial for our survival. When we artificially boost pleasure too high, too often, like with certain drugs, we actually end up dampening our ability to experience natural pleasure while increasing our pain sensitivity.
That really shows how sophisticated our body's regulatory systems are, always working to maintain that delicate balance.
And what's really fascinating is how this applies to modern life. Think about how our constant pursuit of pleasure through social media, likes, or instant gratification might be affecting these ancient balance systems.
That's such an important point about how our modern world interfaces with these evolutionary systems that developed over millions of years.
Looking ahead, Understanding these mechanisms could help us develop better pain management strategies and more sustainable approaches to pleasure in our increasingly digital world.
And maybe help us find that sweet spot between pursuing pleasure and avoiding pain that leads to the most fulfilling life.
Well, that brings us full circle to where we started, how our experience of pain and pleasure isn't just about physical sensation, but about the incredible interplay between our body and mind.
Thanks for tuning in to the Wellness Lab Digest. If this episode helped you, here are 3 quick ways to support the show. 1. Subscribe to stay updated with fresh, body-loving wellness insights. 2. Share this episode with a friend who needs this today. 3. Comment below and tell us what topics you'd love to hear next. Want to do even more? Check the video description for ways to support the show. Stay curious, stay well, and we'll see you in the next episode.